Hey everyone, this is Tom from MonTac here doing the Weekly MonTac Matchup for the 6th of May 2022, and joining me we have got three-time former champion Mystfire. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
It's great to have you on. We've got quite a few interesting matchups with quite a few interesting decks. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but it should be a banger. Let's get on to the first matchup. We have got a very kind of an OG favorite, Shadow Galaxy Wolf versus Charging Badger, rank 15 Wolf versus rank 18 Badger. Obviously, Wolf expected to use the Trojan Control, and Badger expected to use the Sky Soldiers. What are your thoughts on that kind of deck matchup?
The last time I actually played that matchup was before Set 4 came out, and by that point, Trojans didn't have their second synergy or their Apex, and I barely won that one. Only because Badger didn't have enough Sky Soldiers in the perished pile, well, fighters in the perished pile actually to play Titus. But so when it comes to that previous matchup, I'd say Sky Soldiers definitely would have the upper edge, but with the Apex and the new synergy out, it could be an interesting match and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Alright, interesting, fair enough. Alright, the next matchup we're going to have is rank 12 Crimson Deceit, taking on for their very second match ever. They're taking on Mini Smoke, obviously rank 17. Crimson Deceit would be expected to keep on with their Vigilantes, and Mini Smoke with their Angels. Just a very solid choice for Mini Smoke at this stage of the season. Quite an interesting matchup, that one too, because obviously Angels do rely a little bit on specialties, but they might be able to overpower those Vigilantes. What are your thoughts?
You know, this is actually a very interesting concept. Vigilantes are very good at specialty removal, but Angels, they have power to their game, but that's because of their specialties. Going into this matchup, I will say that Smoke should probably not put all of his eggs in one basket, because the moment he does that, Crimson Deceit and the Vigilantes could just take away that one opportunity, and that would leave Mini Smoke wide open for a bunch of direct attacks and a potential loss in the late game.
Yeah, because Beowulf is also going to be tough to keep that alive, so maybe they'll switch. Who knows? Next matchup we got is rank 10 Apocalyptic former champion taking on Not Nolt rank 16. Apocalyptic, I would say, due to them losing, I think they've lost their last 3 matches, they're probably going to go for something a bit more heavy-handed like Rogue Dragons, just to ensure they get a good match. And Not Nolt, while they have been experimenting with a couple other archetypes, I think they will, just due to the activity, I would say they want to stick with something similar to Apocalyptic. They want to stick with something they know they can play, which would be Steel Edge.
Rogue Beasts are actually very interesting against Steel Edge in this type of environment, and with the dragons applying power, it could go the extra mile. They do have to be careful with the extra 10 minutes though, especially since Rogue Beasts do a lot in the first few turns of the game. Like, it's absurd what they can do. And they could take 5 minutes away in the first turn. So time is definitely a factor going into this matchup, but if Nano can get a good Steel Edge Axe-Head creature on the board, it would be very hard for Apocalyptic to remove it without utility Chimera.
That could get quite brutal quite quickly. The final matchup we have on the undercard is obviously we got rank 6 Doozy taking on rank 9 Squishy. Obviously Doozy expected to run Eclipse Troopers as they have been recently. They've also delved a little bit into Lacuziel. That's kind of where they start off with a really good start from Lacuziel, getting them down to about, both players down to about 2 health, and then they proceed to just trying to beat up people with the Gargoyle and Mistress combo. And as for Squishy, obviously they are running Sunwalkers, but they are far more controlled, so they've inserted cards like Conqueror, etc. So they're playing a lot into their older strengths, while utilizing the current consistency of the new Sunwalkers.
I will say that's actually a very interesting take on the Sunwalker strategy. The modern Sunwalker strategy, anyway. Considering that it's a classic, seeing Sunwalkers more of a control-y style, I definitely do think they can hold their own in a control-based environment. But the big question that I'll have going into this matchup is, how is Squishy going to play around quite possibly one of the most control-y / stall-y archetypes in the game as it stands?
It's going to be a very interesting matchup to see between these two former champions. Moving on to the next matchup, we've got your match with Tailsweet. Obviously, you yourself rank 7 to Tailsweet's rank 5. Tailsweet, obviously one of the major veterans of the game, as yourself. They're expected to run Mutated because it is just simply quite a very good fit for them. Well, you have to run Angels, but I guess it's what kind of Angels you're going to be running is the real interesting point. You've got quite a few options, but you may want to go, since there's no current deck challenge for you, you may just want to go back to your proper Angel build just to get that working again. What are your thoughts?
You know, I actually looked into Mutates quite a bit before getting in here. And one thing that I noticed about Mutate is they don't really have a finisher, per se.
They're definitely a heavy control deck, I would say. They've got, basically, it's just, like, consistent downward, like, power dropping. Obviously, they've got the synergies in Super Soldier and both the Dragon, which can heavily affect your board if you're trying to get, like, mount consistent offense. The major thing will be not getting caught up in that mutated dragon, and then on top of that, if you do get past that, you then got to worry about the fact that every time you play a monster around that apex, it's going to drop by 500, meaning a lot of your supporting Angels around Beowulf are going to get shut down.
Yeah, that definitely is something to keep an eye out for. But like I said, I'm probably going to try to take advantage of the fact that Mutated don't really have a finisher, and try to avoid going into the late game as much as possible.
Ooh, okay, that sounds like this is going to be a quick one, potentially.
Potentially, I can't guarantee.
Getting on to our next matchup, we've got rank 4 Tamoose taking on rank 8 Danby. Tamoose using probably Sky Bandits, just because that is probably it's basically their undefeated deck. And Danby, of course, using Steel Edge. How do you think this match up? Because it is quite weird. It's like, you got your Wolfmans, you got Arons, and they're going to be taking on the creature. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, that definitely is a very interesting matchup going in. The big thing that I think is going to really help Danby out is if he Cardis his Axe-Head creatures. Because the moment he does that, the Synergy Wolfmen can no longer destroy them. And that would give those Axe-Head creatures a huge advantage in the end game.
Well, there's the issue as well, is even if they do get to send those Axe-Head creatures to the Perish Pile, the problem is that doesn't really matter because of way Danby uses Revolution and his Blitz Magnums. So even if that one pop is actually going to be a way worse decision for Tamoose, it's really going to be about how they're going to outlast the Axe-Heads, potentially specialty remove with Hornwing. Something like that would be what I would be managing, trying to just figure out, like getting a Wolfman after both Axe-Heads have been dropped, just to take away their specialties real quick. Even if they get them back when they perish, at least they don't get them while they're in play, and you can save the Wolfman synergy for something that maybe like a Blitz Kaiser or some sort of last-ditch strike from Danby if the game gets really close.
Yeah, the Axe-Head creatures are definitely going to be the big thing going into that matchup, I think. If I was Tamoose, I would try to focus more on the bandit side of the strategy and potentially go for a bandit lockdown. So Danby has to defend with whatever he has, or he's going to lose before those Axe-Heads can even resolve.
Oh, sheesh. Bandit lockdown in a hybrid deck is going to be hard if that's what they want to do.
It is difficult, but who's to say it can't be done? Starhand exists after all.
It can definitely be done. It's just about how effective it's going to be, is really how tricky it's going to get. Yeah, this is going to be really hard for Tamoose, but I think if they can persevere, I think they can make it through. And speaking of persevering and making it through, we've got Zweistein taking on Sparrow. Champion Zweistein, obviously now they are a 2-time champion, catching you in the lead. They just got to lose it here and then get it back, and then they'll be tied.
I don't think he wants to do that, though.
Do it. But yes, so Sparrow, obviously known for their FTKs. They currently have 2 under their belt. Really well done. They're very well executed. They know exactly what they're looking for in those situations. definitely something Zweistein has to be concerned with. I would say from Zweistein, obviously their Vigilantes were incredibly dominant last week, so it's highly expected they will stick with Vigilantes. But as for Sparrow, I would say it's a bit of a toss-up between probably Steel Edge, but that did fail them against Lucky, so they may not want to go down that route again. Or they may want to try and get the very, very, very quick win with Sunwalkers, considering they just came off an FTK of Dan B, which was pretty insane. What are your thoughts on that? It's kind of a can Sparrow get through before he loses all of his specialties kind of situation, potentially.
It's actually an interesting thought, because last time Zwei lost the title, he lost it to Star Wrath, and that might have been FTK if I remember correctly.
I think that was it. Basically, it took a few turns. I think it was like the third or fourth turn. We've never actually had an FTK until Sunwalkers. We've had OTKs, but we've never actually had an FTK until Sparrow chucked in these Sunwalkers and got it on Apocalyptic, funny enough.
That is interesting. So for Zwei, he's really going to have to focus on early game defense, so that way he can actually get ahead and prevent these silly Sunwalkers from doing silly things, i.e. killing you outright.
So you're thinking more of potentially a more defensive strategy from Vigilantes.
I definitely...
I guess like Castle or something could be chucked in.
I definitely do think that he will have to rely on going for those defensive strategies, but then after that, he can just use the entire Vigilante package to overwhelm the opponent after that, because Sparrow is clearly more aggressive with his Sunwalkers compared to Squishy, or some of the previous Sunwalker players in the past. If Zwei can get past that early gauntlet, I think he has a good shot at winning.
Alright, fair enough. Well, thank you again for coming on the show and giving your thoughts on these potential matchups. It's been great having you here. I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching the video. Please leave a like if you enjoy this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. This has been Tom.